have Chantal also quickly go over the timing before Patti begins.
Okay, so the speech is 5 to 7 minutes, and at 6 minutes, green light will go on. At 6.5 minutes, yellow light. At what am I doing? There we go. At 7 minutes, the red light will go on, and you have 30 seconds beyond 7 minutes to wrap up.
Sorry to butt in. I'm just wondering if Toastmaster, we could just get you to do the name and then title, and then we'll clap again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Patti Moran, Conversion to Judaism. Conversion to Judaism, Patti Moran.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and very welcome guests, and Craig especially. Thank you for your great your seminar. When your mother decides to convert to a new religion when you're at 9 years old and asks you if you want to join her, you don't tend to say no. You're 9 years old. You're going to do what your mom's doing. So at 9 years old, when I was 9 and my brother was 6, we decided to convert to Judaism. Now, Jews don't make it easy to convert. They're not like Jehovah's Witnesses or other people that might knock on your door and ask you to join them. They make it very difficult. They actually will send you away twice, and maybe on the third time they'll let you into the clubhouse. So, but for kids it's a little easier. And even then though, my brother and I had to go to Hebrew school for 2 years, and we had to take, that was twice a week, and we also had to take private tutoring once a week with a nice man named Mr. Mazer. And after that, it was time to convert. My mother was already converted. So we all bundled onto a Greyhound bus on a wintry day, nice bright wintry day, and we drove to Montreal on the bus. As you may know, we had to go to Montreal to do this because you can find the best Jews in Montreal. It's only going to be the best for us. For Mom, it was a little more challenging to convert, though, because she had to go through this process of knocking on the door and being rejected and going back, and she had to learn a lot more stuff than we did, and of course she was tutoring us at the same time. One of the most challenging things for her was that she actually had to go out and buy 3 new sets of cutlery and dishes, because as you may know, Jews have dietary laws that prevent them from eating dairy and meat off of the same plates. So we had to buy another set of dishes for meat, and we also had to buy a second 2 sets of dishes for only during Passover, which is only 8 days out of the year. So as a single mother working 3 jobs trying to support a couple of little kids, that was really a big struggle for her. So we get to Montreal, and we go into this building where there's this thing called a mikvah. And a mikvah is a ritual bath. It's a little bit like a baptism. The main similarity being that you get dunked under the water. It's a lot like a big tiled hot tub with no jets. Nice warm water steps to get down inside. So what happened was, the rabbi was there was a nice lady holding up a great big towel, and I had to get undressed, completely nude, and here I am 9 years old, and there's a man right there. He couldn't see me. So I go down into the mikvah, and I had to dunk myself under the water. And the mikvah lady kept telling me, go under again, go under again. I was dunking myself under. I was running out of breath because I had long hair then, and she could see that it was floating on top of the water. And every tiny little piece of me had to get wet. I even had to open my eyes under the water, so those would be purified also. So when I was done, I came out, and my mother was wrapped a big white towel around me and gave me a hug and dried me off, and my brother went down into the mikvah for his turn. And afterwards, a couple of days later, he actually admitted to me that he had refused to open his eyes under the water. And after that, I always felt like he wasn't really Jewish. The rabbi that actually baptized us, or mikvahed us, or whatever you want to call it, was Rabbi Molka. You may recognize the name. Then after we were both out of the mikveh and got our clothes on and all dried off, he asked us both what did we want to be called, because you have to get a Jewish name, Hebrew name. So he turned to my brother first and he said, what would you like your new name to be, your Jewish name? And my brother was like this tall, he's 6 years old, scrawny little kid. He's like, I want to be David. Why David? Asked the rabbi. Because David was a king. So Casey became David. Then he turned to me and asked me what I wanted to be named. I had given this quite a lot of thought, and I said to him, I want to be named Ruth. And he said, why do you want to be named Ruth? And I said, because I'm becoming Jewish, like Ruth became Jewish. And she said, your people will be my people, your God will be my God. The rabbi looked impressed, as I knew he would. So Casey and I were ready to bust loose after all this weirdness, but there was still one more thing to do. So we went off down the street. There was a little walk down the street behind the rabbi to a very narrow building just down the road. We walked into this little waiting room, lady sitting there typing, big door covered with leather. And we were told, my mother and I, to sit down. And the rabbi took my brother by the hand, walked him over to the door, and knocked on the door. And the door was opened by a man who I can only describe as Santa Claus at a funeral. The Rabbi Volka took my brother into the room, shut the door, very quiet. My mother and I sat there looking at magazines. A couple minutes later, I heard 2 muffled cries. And I looked at my mother. I was a little worried because I thought I would be going in there next. And she just looked at me and her face was pale, so I didn't say anything. And a moment later, there was a piercing scream. And I jumped up and I was wailing, and my mother grabbed me and hugged me to her, and I remember to this day the smell of the winter and cold on her coat. She just grabbed me right to her. And suddenly, I said, Mom, what happened? What's going on? What's with Casey? Why is he crying? And she told me. And it was at that point that I stopped worrying about going into that room myself. I never felt quite the same about Judaism or religion after that. It made me different from how I was already, being the child of a single mom. But the experience of converting and living as a Jew was a great experience. I would never have changed it, except maybe to spare my little brother the trauma. But just so you don't go away thinking that converting to Judaism is a barbarous thing, I learned years later that Casey wasn't really circumcised. There was just a tiny little ritual nick. It's done to all men who are circumcised or who are converted to Jews. So it's a minor thing, but I really doubt that any man in the world would consider that a minor thing.
No.